Are you one of those men who wakes up at 2 in the morning, drags himself to the bathroom, crawls back into bed, and then 40 minutes later has to do it all over again? Are you lying there in the dark, wondering when this became your life? Or maybe you're watching this because something just feels off. Your doctor mentioned your prostate, or someone close to you got a diagnosis, and now you're asking the question every man eventually asks, what can I actually do about this? Here is what I need you to hear before anything else. The foods most likely to be harming your prostate right now are probably not the ones you think. They are not the obvious guilty pleasures you already feel bad about. They are the everyday foods, the ones in your kitchen right now, the ones you chose deliberately, the ones you might genuinely believe are keeping you healthy. And the last food on today's list, number 8, is something millions of men swallow every single morning, completely convinced they are doing something good for their body. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what it is and why it matters. Individual foods do not directly cause prostate cancer. No single meal is going to give you prostate cancer, and cutting out one food alone will not guarantee you are protected. What actually matters is the metabolic environment your food choices build over time. Day after day, meal after meal, year after year. The cumulative effect of what you eat either creates a body that resists prostate disease or one that quietly enables it. The specific condition we are talking about is metabolic syndrome, a cluster of problems including high blood pressure, insulin resistance, elevated blood sugar, abnormal cholesterol, and obesity. And here is the number that should make every man watching stop and pay full attention. Men with metabolic syndrome have a 50 to 70% higher likelihood of being diagnosed with high-grade, clinically significant prostate cancer, as well as significantly higher rates of enlarged prostate. 50 to 70%. Not a marginal increase, a dramatic one. Now, these foods damage your prostate through 3 specific pathways. I want you to understand all 3 because they connect everything else we are about to discuss. The first pathway is insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia. When you repeatedly eat foods that spike your blood sugar, your body pumps out insulin to manage it. Over time, your cells stop responding normally, and that is insulin resistance, and your pancreas overcompensates by flooding your bloodstream with even more insulin. Here's the part most men never learn about insulin. It is fundamentally a growth hormone. It tells cells to multiply, and it prevents cells from dying. When insulin stays chronically elevated for months and years, it sends a constant growth signal through your entire body, including your prostate tissue. That is the biological environment where tumors develop and grow. The second pathway is high blood pressure. Men with hypertension have measurably larger prostates, significantly worse urinary symptoms, and markedly higher rates of aggressive prostate cancer. This connection is consistent across multiple large studies, and it is one of the most underappreciated facts in men's health. The foods on this list drive blood pressure up, and elevated blood pressure drives prostate problems forward. The third pathway is chronic inflammation. Poor diet sustained over years creates a persistent, low-grade state of inflammation throughout the body. You cannot feel it. There are no obvious symptoms, but it is there, silently fueling prostate enlargement and cancer progression day after day. Obesity and metabolic dysfunction are the engines of this inflammation, and what you eat is what drives those engines. Keep these 3 pathways in mind as we go through each food, because every item on this list operates through one or more of them. Now, the 8 foods. Number 1, fried foods. Let me ask you something honest. How many times a week are you eating fried food? Not just fast food, think about your cooking at home too. The pan-fried proteins, the deep-fried snacks, the crispy sides, because a 2015 meta-analysis found that men who ate the most fried food had a 35% higher rate of prostate cancer compared to those who ate the least. 35% higher. That is not a footnote. That is a finding worth taking. Seriously, Fried foods are dense in saturated fat and trans fat, the exact compounds that drive insulin resistance, promote systemic inflammation, and fuel weight gain and metabolic dysfunction. They do not target just one of our three pathways. They hit all three simultaneously. Every time fried food is a regular, frequent part of your diet, you are actively feeding the metabolic environment that prostate disease thrives in. You do not have to eliminate it forever, but if it is happening several times a week, that 35% number deserves your honest attention. Number 2, repeatedly heated cooking oils. This one surprises almost every man I speak to, and it is genuinely important. When you cook at home with fresh oil, the oil retains valuable compounds, vitamin E, polyphenols, antioxidants. But when oil is heated repeatedly, which is standard, routine practice in restaurants, fast food chains, and street food vendors, the chemistry of that oil changes completely. It generates free radicals, free fatty acids, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These are established carcinogenic compounds that form directly in the oil through the repeated heating process. The oil also physically changes. It darkens, thickens, its smoke point drops, and it begins releasing toxic fumes at lower temperatures. Every beneficial nutrient is destroyed. Multiple research reviews have found associations between high consumption of repeatedly heated oils and increased incidence of several cancers, including prostate cancer. Here is the practical reality. When you order fried food at a restaurant, the oil your food was cooked in has typically been reused 3 to 6 times before your order arrived. Every chicken wing, every portion of fries are cooked in oil that has been through multiple heating and cooling cycles. 2 simple habits to protect yourself. At home, use fresh oil every time. Never reuse frying oil. And when eating out, be aware that deep-fried items almost certainly involve repeatedly heated oil, and limit how often that happens. Number 3, processed meats, bacon, hot dogs, deli meats, sausages, jerky. I enjoy these foods too, but the evidence linking them to prostate cancer is among the strongest in this entire field, and I would not be doing my job if I did not tell you clearly. Multiple studies show a dose-response relationship between processed meat consumption and prostate cancer risk. The more you eat, the higher your risk climbs. That scaling pattern is one of the most significant indicators of a true causal relationship in research. Why are processed meats so problematic? When manufacturers preserve and process these meats, they add nitrates and nitrites, compounds that keep the meat looking pink and fresh and prevent dangerous bacterial growth. They serve a legitimate purpose. But once those compounds enter your body and encounter the high heat of cooking or the acid environment of your stomach, they can damage DNA and become carcinogenic. Add in the enormous sodium load, which directly drives blood pressure, and the saturated fat that compounds metabolic dysfunction, and you have a food category hitting all 3 of our pathways at once. But here is a nuance about meat that does not get nearly enough attention, and I think it is one of the most important things I will tell you today. It is not just what meat you eat, it is how you cook it. When any animal protein is cooked at very high temperatures, charred on a grill, blackened in a pan, deep fried, it forms compounds called heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These are documented, established cancer-causing compounds. The same steak cooked gently versus heavily charred is chemically a different food entirely. The practical guidance: limit processed meats in your regular diet. When you eat red meat, choose gentler cooking methods. Braise it, stew it, pull it off the heat before heavy charring develops. And there is emerging evidence that marinating meat before grilling may reduce the formation of those carcinogenic compounds. Small changes in how you cook applied consistently make a real difference. Number 4, high-fat dairy. Do you eat butter daily, cheese with most meals? Before you panic, this one comes with important nuance, and the full picture is more reassuring than the headline. A 2023 meta-analysis found roughly a 2 to 3% increased prostate cancer risk associated with regular butter and high-fat dairy consumption. Small percentages, but prostate cancer is already the second most commonly diagnosed cancer in men worldwide. Small percentages translate to large numbers of real men. However, and this is the critical part, not all dairy behaves the same way. I want to be very clear about this. Whole milk and yogurt do not show a significant association with increased prostate cancer risk. They may actually be protective. The specific concern centers on the highest fat products, butter, cheese, and cream, through a mechanism involving IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which these products elevate in the bloodstream. Men with higher IGF-1 show a 9 to 38% higher prostate cancer risk in the highest consumption groups. I will be honest about the limitations. Men who eat more dairy tend to be more health conscious and get screened more regularly, which means more cancers get detected simply through greater vigilance. So part of what the data captures may be a detection bias rather than a pure dietary effect. My practical guidance: moderate your intake of butter, cheese, and cream. Do not fear yogurt or whole milk. And if high-fat dairy is a significant part of your daily diet, bring that to your next doctor's conversation. Number 5, sugar-sweetened beverages. Think about what you drank yesterday, not what you ate, what you drank. Every glass, every can, every cup. Was there a soda with lunch? An energy drink in the afternoon? A sweet tea? A flavored juice? Here is something most men genuinely do not realize. Liquid sugar is metabolically more dangerous than sugar in solid food. The reason is direct. Liquid sugar hits your bloodstream almost immediately. There is no fiber, no protein, no fat to slow absorption. The blood sugar spike is sharp. The insulin response is fast and aggressive. And because drinks do not create the same sensation of fullness that solid food does, people consume dramatically more sugar through beverages than they ever consciously register. Think about the man who eats relatively sensibly. Decent breakfast, reasonable lunch, home-cooked dinner, but has a soda at lunch, an energy drink at 3 in the afternoon, and a sweet tea with dinner. He never thinks of those as dietary problems. They are just drinks. But those 3 beverages alone can contain 60 to 80 grams of added sugar, driving chronic insulin elevation day after day without him ever feeling like he is doing anything wrong. Research shows that men consuming the most hyperinsulinemic diets, high in refined carbohydrates, sugary foods, and processed starches, had an 18% higher risk of high-grade prostate cancer and a 22% higher risk of fatal prostate cancer. And multiple studies show the association with sugary drinks is even stronger than with solid sugary foods. The liquid delivery mechanism makes it uniquely dangerous. If there is one single change that offers the fastest return for your prostate health and your overall metabolic health, it is cutting liquid sugar, water, unsweetened tea, black coffee, sparkling water, not deprivation. Investment in how long and how well you live. Number 6, alcohol. 2 separate questions, because alcohol affects your prostate through 2 completely distinct mechanisms. First question: are you getting up at night to urinate, and do you have a drink most evenings? If yes to both, here is what is happening. Alcohol is a diuretic. It causes your kidneys to produce more urine than the liquid you consumed. When you already have prostate enlargement causing urinary frequency and urgency, alcohol directly amplifies exactly the symptoms disrupting your sleep and your daily comfort. And by age 60, approximately half of all men already have at least some degree of prostate enlargement. There is a statistically even chance that alcohol is actively worsening a condition you may not even know you have, every single evening. Second question: how many drinks per week are you actually having? Because there is a clear, documented dose-response relationship between alcohol consumption and prostate cancer risk. The more you drink, the higher the risk, particularly beyond 2 drinks per day. And I want to be fully transparent about what the broader research shows. Any alcohol consumption increases cancer risk across multiple cancer types. This is not about heavy drinking being bad and moderate drinking being fine. The data on alcohol and cancer is not that forgiving. If you are not deeply attached to drinking, eliminating it entirely is what I would genuinely recommend. If it is a significant part of your social world, minimize it as honestly as you can. Number 7, high sodium intake and ultra-processed foods. Walk through this with me. Packaged cereal for breakfast, potentially 900 milligrams of sodium before you have left the house. Canned soup at lunch, 800 to 1200 milligrams in one bowl. A deli meat sandwich, 500 to 600 milligrams more. A packaged sauce at dinner, some condiments. You never once touched the salt shaker, and yet by the end of the day you have consumed 2 to 3 times the recommended daily sodium limit without making a single conscious decision to eat salty food. This is the reality for most men eating a typical modern diet. The sodium is not coming from the shaker. It is already built into the food before it reaches your kitchen. And this matters profoundly for your prostate because high sodium drives high blood pressure. And high blood pressure is independently linked to prostate cancer risk. A 2016 meta-analysis found men with hypertension have an 8% higher overall prostate cancer risk and are significantly more likely to develop aggressive disease. A landmark Icelandic study followed 9,000 men for an average of 25 years and found that midlife high blood pressure substantially raised the risk of advanced, high-grade, and fatal prostate cancer, even after controlling for body weight. Men with a systolic pressure above 150 had a 35% increased cancer risk and a 49% increased mortality after diagnosis. High blood pressure also directly worsens enlarged prostate. Men with hypertension have measurably larger prostate volumes and worse urinary symptoms. Your action step for this one is simple. Before your next grocery trip, pick up 5 of the packaged foods you buy most regularly and read the sodium content on each label. Just look at the number. The awareness alone changes behavior. Most men are genuinely shocked by what they find. And now, number 8. The one that surprises people most, the one that might be sitting in your medicine cabinet right now. High-dose calcium supplements. Do you take a calcium supplement for bone health, a multivitamin that contains calcium, a joint formula that lists calcium in the ingredients? If you take multiple supplements, are you adding up the total calcium you are getting across all of them? Because here is what the research actually shows. A 2025 meta-analysis found that for every 300 milligrams per day increase in calcium intake, prostate cancer risk increases by 2% from supplemental calcium and 6% from dietary calcium. And the association is strongest not for early manageable prostate cancer, but for advanced and fatal disease. The Health Professionals Follow-Up Study, one of the most respected long-term nutrition studies in medicine, found that men with total calcium intake above 2 grams daily had nearly 2.5 times the risk of fatal prostate cancer compared to men getting 500 to 750 milligrams per day. 2.5 times the risk. From a supplement millions of men take every morning, genuinely believing they are protecting their bones. The proposed mechanism involves vitamin D. Very high calcium intake suppresses the activation of vitamin D in the body. And vitamin D plays a documented protective role in prostate tissue. It regulates cell proliferation, preventing the uncontrolled multiplication that drives cancer. When calcium suppresses that activation, the protection diminishes. The risk zone appears to be above 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of total daily calcium from all sources combined. And here is the practical problem. Many men exceed that threshold unknowingly because they are taking multiple supplements, each containing calcium, without ever adding up the cumulative total. Open your supplements right now if you can. Every single one. Find the calcium content, add them up, then factor in what you estimate you are getting from food. If the total is consistently above 1,500 milligrams, that is a conversation to have with your doctor before your next refill. Now, let me give you the other side of this, because the research does not just show us what harms the prostate, it shows us what protects it, and this part is genuinely encouraging. Plant-based dietary patterns are associated with a 52% lower risk of prostate cancer progression in men who already have a diagnosis. 52% lower risk of it getting worse. The Mediterranean diet, the most extensively studied dietary pattern in all of medicine, is consistently linked to lower rates of aggressive prostate cancer. Tomatoes and tomato-based products rich in lycopene may offer protective benefits for both enlargement and cancer. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, support metabolic health and contribute to positive prostate outcomes. And fatty fish, rich in omega-3 fatty acids, helps counteract the chronic inflammation that drives prostate disease progression. Your daily food choices have real, measurable, documented power over your prostate health, not in a dramatic overnight way, but cumulatively, one consistent decision at a time. And that cumulative impact is far more within your control than most men realize. Small changes made early and sustained over time make an enormous difference. That is not a motivational statement. That is what the data shows. Now, your one action step for today. Before your next grocery trip, check the sodium content on 5 packaged foods you buy regularly. Not because sodium is the single most dangerous item on this list, but because it is the most invisible. It accumulates without you noticing. And those 3 minutes of reading labels can be the beginning of a shift that genuinely matters for your long-term health. If this video gave you something real, if any moment here made you think differently about your diet, your prostate, or your daily habits, hit the like button right now. That 1 second tells me this content is worth making more of. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 8 foods surprised you most? Which one are you going to look at differently starting this week? I read every comment, every single one. And your question might become the next video on this channel. Share this with a man in your life who needs to hear it. A friend, a brother, a father, a husband. Men do not talk about prostate health nearly enough, and the cost of that silence is real. Your share of this video could be the thing that gets someone to make a change before it becomes a crisis. And if you are not subscribed yet, subscribe right now. Every week, I bring you evidence-based, clinically grounded information about your prostate health, your sexual health, and your overall well-being, built on real research, delivered with genuine care for every man watching. You are worth taking care of. Your health is worth protecting, and you deserve to have the information that actually makes a difference. I will see you in the next one.